My way. Welcome, everybody, to Boston 9/11 Truth. Today is Thursday, June 26, 2025. And today we are very pleased to welcome back Magnus from Norway. Magnus had joined us, I think it was in December, wasn't it?
March 2024. Oh, no, Boston, yeah, was December, yes.
Yeah, yeah. Anyway, so we're welcoming him back. There was some technical difficulties at the time, and I think we got it all worked out this time around, and we're very excited to see the videos he has to share because Magnus is known for his massive collection of videos that have been rarely seen about 9/11. But before we begin, I need to start with a quick disclaimer. The views and thoughts and opinions expressed are the speaker's own and do not necessarily represent the views, thoughts, and opinions of Boston 9/11 Truth. The material and information presented here is for general information and educational purposes only. The Boston 9/11 Truth in all its forms and abbreviations are the property of its owners, and its use does not imply endorsement of or opposition to any specific organization, product, or service. Boston 9/11 Truth aims to inspire and promote action by the truth advocates who support them and their efforts. So during our speaker tonight, and every time we have a speaker, all meeting participants are to use polite decorum and to be muted during the presentation. No personal attacks are allowed. And of course, disagreement and debate are allowable as long as the content, not the person, is confronted and voices are kept at a speaking level, no shouting, and no one interrupts one another. The first part of our meeting will be the guest speaker. The second part will be Q&A. And the third part will be our local agenda items. So with that, let's welcome Magnus. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you to everybody for coming. And I have been here before. My name is Magnus Langlete from Norway, Trondheim. And I'm 32 years and living in Trondheim, Norway, yeah. And I've been a co-producer for 9/11 Crimes in the Courtroom Phase 2 and helping with Phase 1. So today we're going to see some 9/11 videos, starting with the South Tower and its collapse. So I'm going to share my list here.
Wow.
It's a lot of stuff here, and I had sorted it out, but then it returned to the normal list that I had before I made the list complete. So videos are everywhere, but we are going to see a lot of videos here.
Wow. Do you have a total count?
The fire chief who was forced to... What did you say?
Do you have a total count of how many videos you have?
Yeah.
370, is that right?
Yeah.
Wow.
Believe so. Alright, I'm going to play this video of the South Tower now collapsing and then Fire Chief Daniel Negro. Alright, ready.
The fire chief, who was forced to assume command of New York's rescue operation that day, had narrowly escaped death with the collapse of the South Tower.
It was like the surface of another planet. All there was powdered debris and metal. It was a very strange scene.
So that's the South Tower collapsing when we are seeing the top goes down, and I supposed to think that that top would have continued down to the ground, but instead it just pulverized and had a lot of explosions coming out from the sides of it simultaneously. So I don't agree with Nis that there was no explosions in these towers before they came down. It's just crazy. Look at this loose change. Now we're going to see the loose change cut here from these explosions.
Here,
This is the North Tower, but there are the same explosions simultaneously going there. So I don't think that the top could have crushed the lower part if it's destroyed in the first 4 seconds there.
Right, those are called squibs, right?
Squibs, yes. And these squibs are very powerful. So that's a heavy explosion during the collapse. So here we have the foreknowledge of the top of the North Tower.
Peter, big concern now from the scene that the Northwest Tower, the one remaining standing, is leaning and buckling in the northwest corner. They're moving back the mobilization areas, and they're cordoning off the area in a much wider zone now, because obviously they are now concerned about the possibility of a second collapse.
So this collapse shouldn't be, there shouldn't be any foreknowledge or speculation about that at that point.
Right.
So now we're going to see another video here. Sorry for actually have to scroll. I told you that I had sorted out the videos, and now they have returned back to the normal list, so I have to find them. But I know where they are.
Well, I'm sorry you had went through the useless effort of ordering them, and then they sabotage your ordering.
They have done so, so that's insane.
Oh,
Have you ever seen the 2-year investigation starts into the World Trade Center before?
I don't think so.
Upending piece is a prefabricated column element that was directly impacted by the first aircraft that crashed into the North Tower or World Trade Center 1. That this belonged to Tower A, the North Tower, that they were from column line 130.
The specific piece we're looking at is this white piece that is over here, and a second
operation, and maintenance.
Well, I'm confident that we will come up with the necessary recommendations for code reforms that will lead eventually and even immediately to safer buildings. And I should say that it's subpoena power has not been granted for this investigation. On the other hand, we have in the time that we have led up to this point, had detailed discussions with almost all the parties that we feel will be important to us, and we've received pretty full and open cooperation to date.
That our reports and data and findings cannot be used in a court of law. That is correct. However, if somebody does want to deal with such issues, they'll have to do it with their own funding.
So the investigation has to be funded by your own if you want to know what happened to the Twin Towers, he says. And that's insane.
Of course, we recognize Shazam, forever known as Shazam. But who was the middle-aged white man in the suit?
Oh, it's we can take a look at it one more time at the end here. What it
Unending
is.
peace is a prefix.
That is correct. However, if somebody does want to deal with such issues, they'll have to do it with their own funding.
He was whatever he was, so did he represent the investigation and were leading Shyam Sunder up on that stage. So it's I have to actually send you the name later. I don't remember who that guy is, but he's a very important man in there.
I'm wondering if he was a New York official or a U.S. government official.
Yeah, he is very high up. I'm going to send you more information about that guy later.
Okay, thank you.
Cool. What I'm looking for is the next part where NIST is coming to their office. I have it right here.
It's not like any other job. For Bill Pitts and his team, it's 9/11 from 9 to 5, and often longer. They watch the planes strike the World Trade Center again, again, and again. And then they watch as the buildings burn and fall down.
We've seen it so much, we've probably looked at it more than just about anybody in the world.
Pitts is a scientist at the National Institute of Standards.
One more guest in how they joined the meeting.
Standards and Technology, NIST for short. The U.S. government has asked NIST to investigate why the towers collapsed so that buildings can be made stronger in the future. Most experts agree it was the fire spread by burning jet fuel that brought down the twin towers. The fire heated the structural steel, weakening it, starting a catastrophic failure. But there are competing theories on how the fire affected the metal and which steel components gave way first. NIST researchers are modeling the impact of the jets, the spread of the fire, and the collapse of the towers in detailed computer simulations. To do that, they need the image analysis provided by Bill Pitts and his team.
Image analysis is allowing us to learn a lot about the interaction of the building and the airplane. The reason this is important is because it's going to tell us, hopefully, what the initial damage done by the airplane was. We hope to get insights into what the airplane itself did as it entered the building, which is going to ultimately determine what the fire growth is. It's going to determine where the fuel distribution, initial fuel distribution was in the building. And that's going to allow us to learn more about what the fires ultimately did. What we're looking at is a still frame of a video that was shot on September 11th. And the reason it's of particular interest to us is because it was shot on a tripod, which means that the image is very stable and lets us do various types of image analysis to it. So when I play it, what you're going to see is the plane strike from the left, and then you're going to be able to see all the motion associated with that plane strike. And there's a lot going on here, which includes the fires that are formed after the plane hit, the plume that's formed by the plane striking. You see it just everywhere you look, there's detail. It tells us something about what happened on September 11th to this building.
One of those details is the speed of the aircraft, something that's essential to modeling the structural damage. By taking that video, shot at 30 frames a second, and scrutinizing tiny details in each frame, Bill has come up with one of the most accurate estimates of the speed of the plane that hit Tower 2.
And the way we do it is to measure the location on the photograph of both the nose and the tail as it appears, as you can see here. And then knowing the length of the aircraft and the time it takes to move from one location to the other, that's the way we're going to determine the speed of the aircraft.
In the end, the answer is straightforward: 560 miles per hour. That same piece of video can tell Bill Pitts how the building moved during the plane strike. The image of the building, whether it's moving or not, creates a weird optical effect of curved lines on the video.
And they're due to an interference pattern that arises between the lines that are actually on the building associated with the windows and columns on the building and the pixels that are the individual elements within the camera that is taking the photograph. Those two interfere, and the net result is what you see here, these patterns passing across the building. We're going to take an initial image, which is the very first image in the video that I'm going to show you, and subtract it from all the additional images, and that's what we're showing over here. And we've already done it, and that's why we're seeing black now. So when we start to play it, what's going to show up is the differences between the images. So as I play it, we'll see the plane coming in again from the left. We'll see it approaching the building. And as it enters, you start to see changes in the building almost immediately. Now, these initial changes were due to pressure changes, but as time goes by, you begin to see these lines spreading across the building. These are exactly the same lines we saw before, but they've been enhanced now because we're looking at the difference. So as the building moves, these lines show up very distinctly because the building has changed.
Sped up, that same video also reveals that Tower 2 behaved like a giant tuning fork. When the image blacks out, that's when the tower is swaying through its starting point. Bill Pitts has found out that the tower swayed back and forth once every 11.3 seconds, and that the movement lasted for 4 minutes. Knowing how far the tower swayed might reveal what happened inside the building when the plane entered. How far it did sway, Bill won't say. He's still working on it. But there are other details he's willing to share.
Okay, what we're showing here is the plane coming in from the left. I'm going to stop it right here. And you can see what appears to be a light appearing right in this area, while the rest of the building is still dark. What that tells us right away is that the building actually hasn't moved yet, and yet we're still seeing this light area. And what we think has happened here is that we're actually seeing pressure waves pass across the windows in the building. As a result, it changes the reflection of the light striking them. That shows up as a difference, and we can actually track the entrance of the airplane into the building in this way.
The team has used video analysis to track how the fires moved through the two towers. One of the ways they've done this is to catalog the location of each flaming window, carefully matching it with time code embedded in the videos.
What we're trying to do is learn to the highest degree possible where the fires were, how intense they were, and this is going to allow the people who are trying to model the fires, first of all, to have something to compare with, but also to have some idea of how intense the fires were so they can begin to make predictions of the temperature.
The hope is that a detailed play-by-play of the disaster will emerge from these models, pinpointing structural weaknesses in the design of the towers, and then NIST can make recommendations to the building code. Though Bill Pitts' work might actually end up saving lives someday, that doesn't make the job any easier.
You tend to put yourself there. I mean, we've seen it so much. All of us have that are doing this in this room. And it really is hard because you tend to think a lot about what the people went through that day. There's just no way to avoid it. You get used to it. You try not to think about it too much because if you did, you wouldn't be able to do your job. But it's there, and you see things, and you see certain things repeatedly, and it can be very, very difficult. And it's sometimes really, really hard to separate yourself from it, but you have to do it because we do feel the job we're trying to do is important.
Not every image makes it into the database, only useful ones do. So far, the video analysis team has collected almost 6,000 still photographs and about 150 hours of video. The job of combing through it all is far from over.
Thank you. That was the NIST team that wasn't able to provide a full explanation of the collapse of the Twin Towers, they said. So I have that here, I guess.
Well, the central figure there was Bill Pence, I think it was. I'm wondering what we know about him.
Yeah, I'm very confused over that man, because he said he wanted to know the truth and want to provide a collapse explanation, and the team ended up with just that perimeter columns were giving away, not the antenna and core columns as FEMA said. So this guy, I don't know much about him actually. I'm doing research into him because he's very interesting and very honestly guy, and just everything goes the other way.
Exactly. He seems quite knowledgeable and expertise and
Yeah.
here, but we know what happened.
Yeah. And now I'm gonna show you a short cut from the video of Abul Estani. I think that's the name, yeah.
Smoke and the fire effect on it. You can see some fireproofing, but really not much of it is left. So you can see that when the building was burning, there was no fireproofing left.
The lack of fireproofing meant that the steel was extremely vulnerable to the heat from the kerosene. But what has intrigued investigators above all is that it may have had a disastrous effect on one particular part of the structure: the support for the massive, open-plan floors. The heavily distorted brackets that remain in the scrapyard suggest exactly the same thing to Professor Astane.
You cannot bend the steel like this without cracking it, unless you warm it up. So what this piece tells me is that this piece was very hot when the floor collapsed and bent it. So that must have been the initiation of collapse of this World Trade Center tower.
Yeah, not a result of it. It happened inside that building, just like he said. So for NIST to say that there was no high temperature that were able to do that, that's just insane. 1,000 degrees and something I have heard they say, and it's not enough to weaken and melt things like that. So now I'm gonna show you a video. It's a news stories. Here we go.
Hyman Brown was the project engineer on the Twin Towers, the man on the ground in charge of making sure the buildings were built right, the way it was designed.
There was a lot of pride in it, and we were doing something that hadn't been done before. But no one ever considered any types of forces like this.
Brown, who spent 6 years building the towers from day one in 1966, says the planes didn't cause the towers to collapse, but rather the fire and tremendous heat that exposed the steel superstructure to forces it could not withstand.
Structural steel is fireproof to last between 1 and 2 hours, which it did, and then steel melts.
But why did these buildings collapse? Buildings that went up only 30 years ago, that should last for a century or more. It wasn't the explosion, the force of the two planes, structural engineers tell us. It was the heat. The flames there burned too long and too hot, rising above 1,500 degrees. It began to melt the steel. And the floors in the towers were connected to the steel skin on the outside. And as that steel literally melted, that floor gave way, fell on the next, and down they came. That was the structural failure. They were not built to withstand more than 1,500 degrees of heat caused by two planes fully laden with gasoline flying into them on this day here in New York.
That's what's left of the World Trade Center, the two 110-story buildings. We continue to say that with a sense of disbelief because it just is hard to imagine that there could be such a complete destruction of those two buildings. But what happened simply is the structural steel inside probably melted as a result of more than 300,000 pounds of jet aviation fuel exploding like a bomb. The two airliners combined carried about that much fuel when they hit the planes and made them a guided missile. They brought down the twin trade towers of the World Trade Center.
Engineers suspect the temperatures inside the crash areas could have quickly reached well over 1,000 degrees, perhaps approaching 2,000 degrees, beyond the melting point of any steel. The heat would have obliterated the insulation around the structure, the fire suppression system. Once this happened, nothing could save the Twin Towers.
The Twin Towers, the World Trade Centers, that could not be destroyed by the impact of the aircraft, but could be destroyed and were destroyed by the fact that this aviation fuel got loose and just, in effect, melted the steel.
Right. 1,600 degrees or even more, that melted the steel. As it melted the steel, shell or frame.
That the people who worked on the building, architects and engineers, have told us that the reason this building crashed was not at all having to do with not directly having to do with the aircraft which hit it. They actually withstood that. It was not because their very low understructures collapsed as a result of the concussion, but ultimately collapsed because the steel on the top, which was exposed to such intense heat, largely the result of the aviation gasoline which went into that building along with the aircraft. The heat was so intense that the steel melted and the building began to collapse down unto itself from on top.
So that's the longest news reports of molten steel. Now I'm gonna show you some more molten steel. But what they say is that the UPS system on the 81st floor on the South Tower were actually the causes of this yellow glowing stuff here. UPS system on 81st floor, it's a powered on battery power system, but I don't believe it's that either. So when we are going back here and looking at Shyam Sunder's explanation for that, is yeah, it's just crazy that that man has a job.
Oh.
Do you know whether Mark Wiseau or Leslie Robertson or Joe O'Toole were interviewed as to molten steel?
Well, as I said, there is no evidence that there was steel molten in the building when it was standing. There's no way that you could have had molten steel in the building when it was standing. And if you're alluding to the molten metal that was seen on the northeast corner of the 82nd or 81st floor of Tower 2, some minutes before the building collapsed, that was a isolated incident where molten material, not molten steel, molten material was seen coming out. It was a silverish color molten material.
Okay.
And this is the same floor where the airplane crashed into the building. Yeah. Airplanes are made of aluminum, and of course you also know that the skin of the World Trade Center towers was made of aluminum.
So they went from the UPS system and were saying it's just simply the aircraft's aluminium and the skin there, and that it's just insane too. So now we're going to see Peter Jennings.
Information is pouring into our newsroom from everywhere, trying to understand this. Here's a message from a friend who happens to be an architectural engineer who knows something about the World Trade Center and who believes that a member of the family may have been killed in the Trade Center at all. It's been impossible for... We've only had one person, at least on this broadcast, identified all day, and that is the wife of the Solicitor General of the United States, who managed to call her husband from the aircraft that was hijacked and then subsequently attacked the Pentagon. But he, an engineer and an architect, speculates here that the heat above the crash site on the Twin Trade Towers may have indeed caused the building above to melt.
just simply collapsing in itself and putting enormous weight on the rest of the building below, which could not possibly stand it. And the steel columns which go up through the building, built to code at best, would only be able, he believes, to have been able to stand an hour and a half of intense fire like this, pressing down on the rest of the building until it finally was able to give way. It was a very well-built building, probably better, given its size and the attention and everything else, much better than similar buildings built today, because it was the first of its style. And as we know, in many American cities as well as overseas, there are a lot more daring architectural structures of this magnitude in many parts of the world today. In Asia particularly, people building these astonishingly high buildings as show places, almost a competition going on in the rest of the world as to who can build the tallest, most daring building. Well, there's a very simple, long box structure built well, according to the engineers who know it.
All right, so there was some melted steel there, and they just simply think it's aluminium. They're covering up the aluminum. The NIST team is just crazy. So now I'm gonna show you a video here. Oh yes, here it is. The core columns from the World Trade Center 1. Core 2.
Wow. You know, after 24 years, it's still really hard to look at this.
Yeah, it is. It is very hard to look at this. Do you see the list now, Susan?
Yes, I do.
All right. So now we saw the core columns going down there. And now we're going to see an underground explosion. It's a very heavy underground explosion when that just fell down there on the second tower, I think, south tower. So these are very extreme force. So here we're gonna see the proof that thermite were used on 9/11.
We also had a chance to speak to Professor Stephen Jones, who is a doctor of physics, concerning new bombshell evidence that conclusively proves that thermite was used to cut the main pillars in the World Trade Center towers.
There is this molten metal, molten material flowing out of the South Tower just before its collapse. There's a large quantity of yellow hot metal. And then I read about these pools of molten metal underneath both towers and Building 7 after their collapses. Now that fits like a glove with the thermite reaction, which produces molten iron. You also see in these videos of this molten metal coming up, you see this white ash, this dust that comes off. Now that combination, yellow hot molten metal, white ash floating away, that's his signature characteristic for thermite. And then finally, we got some samples of this metal, the previously molten metal. Using advanced techniques like proton-induced X-ray emission, and an electron microprobe, we found out what's in these samples. We're finding iron, also sulfur, potassium, and manganese. And these are characteristic of a variation of thermite, which is used to cut through steel very rapidly. It's called thermate. It's like, sure, you can take a knife, you take the butter out of the fridge, and you cut through that butter. Now, adding sulfur to thermite and also potassium permanganate, this chemical, it's like heating up your knife to a very high temperature. Now it slices right through the butter, even if the butter's cold, slices right through. Same way here, by adding sulfur and potassium permanganate to thermite, it'll now slice through structural steel very rapidly. But the end products then, you'll have sulfur and potassium, manganese, and iron. And that's what we see. Thermite had to be planted in the buildings, which of course implies directly an inside job. Someone had to have access into the building.
So I believe there was thermite there because 3 hours after the collapses we do have these red hot spots. We can zoom into them if it's possible, but I have a picture here that says 3 hours after the collapse there was red hot spots, but not in building 7. Because that's deeply in the pile and will come up later when they are pouring water. Then there reacts more thermite that didn't react 100% in the building. They didn't need much thermite in my opinion. So for them to pour water in the pile and then it starts to increase very largely. So the first pictures didn't have that from Tower 7, but it came up on September 13 and 14 and 15 and 16 and so on to October 31st and December, yes, I remember that was the last month with these underground fires and that they were extinguished by January, and you can see it smoldering a little bit on February. I have the same page claims that there was something going on in rubble in February, but you couldn't see much of it. So that was the ending of that. So there was actually largely pools of molten steel 3 hours after the collapses. And last time I was here, then we had these guys saying there wasn't hot on these spots on 9/11 because there was hundreds of workers walking around there. But the temperatures and the iron there increased very largely right after the collapse. You see all these people are walking around here and people were saying, oh, it's not hot there because it's very deeply in the pile and starts to increase very crazy when you're pouring water on iron. So you shouldn't do that. Look at this part, for example. This is molten car and iron, for example. Yeah, there is no sound on this video, I think.
We're not seeing a video.
Okay, then I have to go back. Now we are on the right page. Sorry about that mistake. Here we go. Heritage list September 16.
It's 6:30 a.m. Larry Scott is flying in a Navajo Chieftain at 130 knots and 8,000 feet.
Sorry, I'm gonna show you a short video of the same thing above here. Here we got September 16, very red and hot on all 3 spots that wasn't fully recovered on 9/11. Because I'm gonna show you now why. Because deeply in the pile this just happens. It's some kind of molten iron just pouring, it's just glowing in the pile. Down to the left There, you see very yellow. Oh, sorry. One more time.
Definitely.
So there's something very strange going on down deeply in the pile that they couldn't see first. So there was actually molten metal deeply in the pile. I'm going to show you a little further here because yeah, they were saying there were no molten steel after 9/11 and metal and stuff like that, but we have a lot of pools of molten steel and things like that in the months after 9/11. 3 months after the attacks, they're still melting. I'm going to show you something here. Why I call him Criminal Rudy. Oh, I thought I had the video upstairs, but it's right here. It's a very large list, you see.
Yes.
Oh, excuse me, can I just ask you about something very strange, Susan? Have you seen Airwolf before the 80s, the series with the black chopper?
No.
Oh, it's a very great action series, but the problem is that when you are buying the DVD or the videotape, then the episode 9 in season 2 is called Flight 93 is missing. So they changed nothing after the terrorist attacks. But when you're watching it on streaming service, then the episode is called Under Tow in order to remove it because of 9/11.
Interesting.
Yeah, it is, because in our country, then they are not censoring much and all this stuff. So it's a ball with these movies and series in your country. They are changing and unchanging and doing so much strange over there. But I do understand them because it's a very hard thing. It's a very sad thing, 9/11, but for them to do it this all this time, remove it and put it back, it's just like Home Alone 2 when he's on the top of the North Tower there and South Tower maybe and looking through out the city, and then they changed the scene with another thing and then just changed it back to normal again in 2018. So they're very crazy. But whatever now, we are going to see something about the World Trade Center 2 steel penetrated subway.
More details are emerging about the large sections of subway tunnels and stations that were destroyed in the Trade Center collapse. This video, shot by the Federal Emergency Management Agency, gives some idea of the kind of damage the City Transit Authority will have to clean up and then repair. You can see a walkway and an escalator destroyed when part of the Cortlandt Street N&R station caved in with the force of the collapse. A Transit Authority engineer tells FEMA giant pieces of steel near the top of one of the towers actually fell right through street level to the subway tracks below.
There are steel columns that have punctured down through the roadway surface or from the 80th floor of the South Tower, so about 800 feet up in the air and a block and a half away, but they speared down through maybe 10 feet of overburden through the passageway, and we think are sticking down another 10 or 20 feet into the soil. And we can see them above ground. In fact, right after the collapse, they were sticking up 60 or 70 feet.
Experts say it could be years before all the lower Manhattan subway lines are back up and running.
So that steel penetrated the subway, and that's also a heavy force. So this steel is very demolished by something that looks like this Reichstag demolition. Looks like that one. Oh, sorry about that noise. 2 seconds. I don't have a free YouTube channel, so I have to see all this.
Hans hånd ved hennes korsrygg.
So I'm very sorry about these breaks. They are just forcing me to see them. Alright, here is the Reichstag demolition. Reichstag, maybe. I'm not sure how to say the name of that building.
Reichstag.
I have to turn it a little back, sorry, but there it is. That's the demolition of the Reichstag, and that's thermite, so that looks exactly like what's pouring out from the South Tower prior to its collapse. Thank you for watching that one, because that's a very important one, because when we have compared building collapses and all this stuff and looking at demolition with thermite, then it looks like it's more possible scenario for that to have happened than anything other. Yeah. So here we go, Dan Ratter.
Bellevue Hospital Medical Director, quote, "This is a catastrophe of unparalleled proportions," unquote. And the reason it is a result of what you're seeing on videotape. First one of the World Trade Center towers collapsed. Yes, collapsed. It looks like one of those scenes of an old building being, purposely dynamited and blown up. In this case, hijacked airliners, two, both of them American Airlines planes apparently, but crashed first one then another in the World Trade Center.
And that's just the South Tower. So they were absolutely saying that they were demolished right after 9/11 and never after. So I have a lot of reporters claiming that these were explosions and explosives before the planes hit the towers. Actually, we have an explosion right here. We have an explosion before there was any plane hitting or something happens inside that building. I'm not sure what happens inside that building, but it's very strange for me to say that. Yeah, look at this part.
The ladies that are with me were in the World Trade Center in the first building and escaped through the lobby, where they report that they believe there was a bomb in the lobby.
We ran down the steps to the lobby. There was no lobby. Everything was torn up. And even the turnstile was burnt and it was sticking up, and they just told us to run.
My boss ran out of the office. He said one thing, run. Everybody just ran. And we ran down the stairs. They told us to come back up the stairs. And we were like, come back up the stairs? Are you crazy? So we continued down the stairs. We came outside in the lobby. There was no lobby. The lobby was totally gone.
Did you see other people?
There was a woman there with her face blown off. And as we were coming out, we passed the lobby. There was no lobby. So I believe the bomb hit the lobby first. And a couple of seconds in the first plane hit.
Wow.
So there was an explosion before the planes hitting there in the both the lobby and the basement, because there are several reports of that too in the basements. Here we have a short one. Rudy Giuliani explaining the towers.
Way out of the building. When we finally got out of the building, Park Street, and we were looking out, I could see that there was terrible debris going through the streets, and I could see people getting hit. Several people came in with bloody faces, and I thought that maybe our building would collapse, and I was trying to decide whether we should stay in the building or go outside. And I decided to go outside because I thought fewer people would get hurt outside than inside. So there must have been some sense of, fear about that. If there was no time, Marvin, I didn't really realize how dangerous it was until I watched it on television at 1:30 in the morning. When I saw the implosion of the two buildings at 1:30 in the morning, that's when I said to myself for the first time, my goodness, there but for the grace of God.
Implosion of the two towers and implosion of the Tower 7, Rudy Giuliani claims. And the implosion that took place were just surprising me, he said. So for this, they say that it's progressive collapses. It's just incredible. $20 billion was that what the investigation was, Susan?
Something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. So for them to say it's a progressive collapse produced by fire, that's just lies. And we need a new investigation, everybody who sees this list. Because now we're going to show you a very strange video here of the people warning.
That's what's going to happen to that building right there.
That's what's going to happen to that building right over there, he says.
We felt it vibrate in the face. We were in the face of a bomb.
More film? Huh? Getting more film? Yeah. Just in case.
Yes.
I'm gonna go a little bit further in this video because this is just insane video.
Plane coming and then I heard another bang, but I don't know what's going on. So, gas leak.
They're shooting. I'm serious. You should have saw me running.
I told you. Did you hear that they have a bus? They caught a bus, a buck or a truck.
A van full of bombs, right?
Oh no! Somebody said there was a truck that had a picture of the World Trade Center with the plane flying into it. They caught it.
At the same time, Chicago, Pentagon, Chicago's a Pentagon, and that got hit at the same time.
Yeah, it's obviously orchestrated, bro. How you declare war on something you can't see?
No.
Put me in office, I'll show you.
They got TVs protected still.
Put me in office and I'll show you how to declare war on something you can't see.
I know who do. Yeah, they get on TV. The motherfuckers having their country right now. They showing on TV.
Yeah, they won't.
Are you trying to figure like this? If the U.S. going around helping everybody, in other words, not minding their own business, you get into something you don't know nothing about, they gonna mess with you. And I'm like, this, why don't you leave them alone? And they come over and mess with you.
That's exactly what they got fucked up.
Wow.
The niggas blew up in 2 billions, they got fucked up.
Here's what I don't get. Is how our CIA and our FBI had no clue.
That's because it's an inside job.
You know what?
Right, it's an inside job, yes. So that's foreknowledge of something there. Very intense. But now I'm going over to World Trade Center building number 7 here because I actually made my own model 4 years ago here and we're saying that
You still there, Magnus?
Did you see? There you are. Wow, I just lost the whole damn page, so I'm sorry about that. Yes. The problem with this video we just saw is that there was some foreknowledge of the collapses of the towers there, and then we have the same thing with Tower 7. I think we are going to see some of the Tower 7 here, so let me see. I have a video before Aaron Brown actually saying that there was another collapse following the 1030 collapse of the second tower. So that's the 1040, and that's, yeah, it's not 11 but 11, the 1040. Sorry about that. It's a huge list, so I'm apologizing for scrolling, and I said earlier they screwed up my all the other list I made today. But we are going to see the 1040. Oh, this is the King of the Monster game. Have you ever seen that before? That there was the three. That's this 1 and 2 and 3. Do you see them?
Yeah.
So that's the King of the Monster game 1992. So I'm gonna show you why I'm showing you that part. Me there. So the 1992 game King of the Monsters had those 3 towers going down, but they had the pile driver that NIST are using, that the top was the last part to collapse.
So predictive programming.
Yeah, it's a very strange game. So I'm gonna show you why I'm showing you that game. Let me just find the video again here. Because that's very interesting stuff I found about Tower 7 here. Because we all have seen Aaron Brown saying that it was another building collapse or explosion following the 1030 collapse, and the firefighter estimated that 50 stories went down. And that video was so incredible to me, so I did deeper research and found this one.
An attack on the other World Trade Center and also the Pentagon, near to the Pentagon in Washington, the defense headquarters. We don't really know much about the other two. There's been an attack on the other World Trade Center and also the Pentagon, near to the Pentagon in Washington, the defense headquarters. Who is responsible? That is still unclear. The Democratic Front for the Liberation of Palestine have denied being behind the attack.
Of a fourth explosion at the Trade Center.
Evacuated out of the immediate area. I mean, clearly fearing that the World Trade Center Twin Towers would collapse, and indeed they were proved right. And another building next to the World Trade Center has also collapsed. But I haven't been able to listen to the local stations. I'm afraid the local television stations are running this in very American style as a drama.
So we have this molten, we have this foreknowledge, and here we go with Aaron Brown's foreknowledge.
Yeah.
A plane hitting the Pentagon, 2 planes hitting the World Trade Center's towers in New York. Alan Dodd-Frank joins us on the phone in Lower Manhattan. Alan?
Alan, just 2 or 3 minutes ago, there was yet another collapse or explosion. I'm now out of sight. A Good Samaritan has taken me in on Duane Street. But at 11:15, there was another collapse or explosion following the 10:30 collapse of the second tower. And a firefighter who rushed by us estimated that 50 stories went down.
The circumstances precisely. We now have a report perhaps of another building here in New York that has collapsed. CNN producer Rose Arce is on the phone. Rose, what can you tell us?
Yes, there's another building very close to the World Trade Center that was hit by debris some time ago, and it appears to be on the verge of collapse. Also, that enormous plume of smoke that you see that's surrounding the
Perez, the Israeli foreign minister, a long time Israeli leader in any number of governments, joining us from Jerusalem tonight, where it is a little bit after 11 o'clock, about 10 minutes after 11. Thank you, sir, for joining us. We are getting information now that one of the other buildings, Building 7 in the World Trade Center complex, is on fire and has either collapsed or is collapsing. And you, to be honest, can see these pictures a little bit more clearly than I. But building number 7, one of the buildings in this very large complex.
So we have Aaron Brown 3 times here saying that these buildings have either collapsed or is collapsing, and he's getting reports from someone out on the street that it's very unclear where the information is coming from at that point, because we have so many people saying just that.
Form or another. Let's go to NBC's Dan Abrams now. Dan, what do you have for us?
Joined now by Sergeant Moses Cruz.
It's a very long video, so I have to go.
Crowds back. A block, another block, another block. They remain concerned that that building could fall as well. They're concerned about the way the wind has been moving. I'm joined now by Sergeant Moses Cruz from the New York City Police Department, who was there during both of the buildings falling. Describe, first of all, what you saw when the first building fell.
Well, I heard the rumble.
We are going to Byron Pitts fast.
Back live, we have had little relief here. Take a look at this. About an hour ago, World Trade Center building number 7 collapsed. A 42-story building, weakened by the devastation that had occurred earlier today. No word of any casualties in the building. It was the one calamity that was not a surprise. Police had evacuated the area hours ago. Fearful building number 7 would indeed fall down.
So Mr. Barnett from FEMA said we were surprised that Tower 7 collapsed, and we never had a major collapse like this, and it's another scenario when you don't have this plane, so they just run for the FEMA investigation, and then this take over and saying it's just a progressive collapse induced by fire and office furnishing. So it did not collapse because of fuel oil fires. So they are very insane, those guys who have these jobs working for these people in the city. So they are not coming up with the truth until you take them down, actually. So it's sad it didn't work to sue them in 2020.
Yeah. Well, journalism in the U.S. has been just a mouthpiece of government for a long time.
They have. How long time do I have left?
Another 20 minutes.
All right, because now I'm gonna show Gene something if he's here, because that's why I'm using the 3 Koopas towers here, because you know, the Dino Hatton is the dystopian setting of the Super Mario Bros. Film existing in a different parallel dimension to Earth. It has the same remembrance as New York. It's the same 3 buildings. So I'm going down to that video and showing you that yeah, the subway, Dino Hatton is Lower Manhattan and has the same buildings and subway. So that's Kupas Towers, World Trade Center 1 and 2, and World Trade Center 7, Larry's Castle 7. And they have the same three, exactly same demolitions as we saw 9/11. It just took me 20 years to check it out.
Wow.
So I didn't know about that. That is three towers. Look at this. This is Kevin McPadden.
Let us never tolerate outrageous conspiracy.
That time we're running out into the street. Half the people had taken off, running up the street.
Here. Kevin McPadden, the elephant in the room, here says that...
Like a distinct sound. It's not like when compression, like boom, 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 like floors that were dropping and collapsing. This was a boom, and like you felt a rumble in the ground, like almost like you wanted to grab onto something. That, to me, I knew that was an explosion. There was no doubt in my mind. And by that time, we're running out into the street. Half the people had taken off, running up the street, and then everybody's running out.
So he were running and this explosion. So this is the same building. So how we describe the building looks exactly like this to me. Plus it's the neighbor building, the Kupas Towers, which is the Twin Towers in the movie. So we have the three same collapses. Implosion. Just like Richard Rotan's claims it was.
Channel interviews structural engineer Ramon Gilsans, who points out the obvious crimp and even speaks of the implosion.
Engineers are not just focusing on the Twin Towers. The most disturbing structural event was not that the Twin Towers fell, but that Tower 7, ignited by flying debris, fell due to fire alone.
Building 7 was a steel frame building and is the first steel frame building that has collapsed due to fire. The failure of the building was an implosion, so it failed completely different than towers 1 and 2, in which the floors failed first.
So he also investigated that building and didn't find anything else than what we found. So I think that Richard Rotan, now Gilsans, should be brought back to the table and discuss the building further if he's still alive. So I'm going to do some research and check if Mr. Gilsans is alive.
You let me know when you want to start taking Q&As.
Okay, yes sir, yes ma'am, that's all right. I'm gonna show you a firefighter who saw molten steel. It's a phone call.
The National Institute for Standards and Technology said that there's no witnesses to molten metal and there's no reports of molten metal from ground zero. That's bullshit. That's a load of shit. Not only was it molten metal, but there were beams that got so hot that they were bent. And they weren't bent. These beams couldn't have bent without being heated up. Beams that were 2 inches thick. You can't just bend a 2-inch thick steel beam. They had to have been bent. They had to have been heated up in order to bend. All I can tell you is what I'm telling you. I was there, and what I saw is what I'm telling you. But you know for a fact, like, there was molten metal down there? Mm-hmm. Yes, I do. Now, I don't know if it was steel beams that were melted, but there was molten metal down there. I don't know what it was from. There were big clumps of melted metal down there that I saw. And you saw with your own eyes, like, melted metal down there? Yeah, absolutely. Not only did I, but other guys that I was with. So there's multiple witnesses to this molten metal globs and stuff. Mm-hmm. So then NIST has to be lying 100% when they said there was no reports or no witnesses of this, because you're a witness yourself. I don't know what they said. Maybe they are. I have no idea. I don't even know who they are.
He claims that he saw molten metal on ground zero, and they're just saying that, wow, there was no pools of molten steel at ground zero after 9/11 or after 9/11. So here we have this guy from Discovery Channel saying 3 months after the terrorist attacks. months after.
Ground Zero was still an inferno of heat and smoke.
It's smoky because there was a tremendous amount of heat generated by the fire, and there was a tremendous amount of steel there that was heated.
Sorry, folks. I just had to go back here, and I just need to take away the text there and run it.
After the terrorist attack, Ground Zero was still an inferno of heat and smoke.
It's smoky because there was a tremendous amount of heat generated by the fire, and there was a tremendous amount of steel there that was heated up. What you see there is as we uncover the steel and the air hits it, that steel is still hot. It's still at 600, 700, 800 degrees in parts of that site. So we're continually watering it down to suppress the dust as well as to cool it down. And then as we excavate it, we can take it off site.
Is there a way to turn up the volume on this one?
It's not so high volume in this one, I'm sorry, but it was at least 1000 degrees. I believe it's very hot in that rubble. I can send you a better version of that later if it's possible.
Okay.
It was very hard to find that video because the first one had very badly audio, and this one wasn't able to do much better either, but it's a longer video than I found first, and you saw very clearly that it was molten metal they had problems with. So I'm gonna find that Rudy video I was talking about earlier here. Criminal Rudy, I call him. Let me see. Sorry for wasting time by finding these videos, but it's a very long list, and it's not what it was before today when I sorted out these videos and had them very clearly in front of me. So I have to look for Criminal Rudy. I believe I put him very down here.
So you're saying you had a nice video list all made up ready and then it got scrambled?
Yes, they did scramble my list, YouTube somehow. I'm gonna search in my log actually. Rudy. Hmm. 2 seconds. Okay, I have to double check my list one more time fast. It goes very fast. Sorry about that mess. 300 or something videos. That's a lot of videos to take care of, and I have to download them almost every time because they are taking down the videos I have.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah, so I have to upload them every time I'm going out of that list. But while I'm looking, let's look at this molten metal dripping.
See molten steel running down the channel rails.
Now you've all seen what we're calling ground zero many times. We've seen it from a variety of angles. It is rubble and it is dust, and that of course raises the question of health and structures in danger.
There you see there are dripping molten metal where the red thing is pointing.
Raises the question.
In their circle, there is.
Like you're in a foundry. Like lava.
Steel was coming out red in certain areas in the first couple of weeks at least.
This is how it's been since day one. Oh, it's unbelievable. And this is 6 weeks later, almost 6 weeks later. And as we get closer,
To the center of this, it gets
So
hotter.
it's a lot of molten metal dripping in the aftermath of the collapses, and 3 hours after the collapses, and deeply in this pile of rubble. So for this to say that there is some office fires and some damages from the planes, that is just crazy. So I'm gonna look one more time out for that video of Criminal Rudy. I wrote Criminal Rudy on that video, so it's strange that I don't see it when I need it. It's very strange, but I'm sure it's here. In my own videos, maybe. Huh. Sorry for not finding the right video, but then we have to watch the debris investigation. Let me find that fast. How long is it now, Susan? I'm wasting so much time finding these videos, but it's okay.
We got another 7 minutes.
Alright. Then I hope I'm finding Rudy here.
I have a suggestion for you, maybe, Magnus.
Yeah.
Put the videos on a thumb drive, on an
Yeah.
external. Then they can't hack that and screw up your list.
Yeah, it's true. It's very sad that they were doing so. So I'm taking your, yeah, thank you for your tips there.
Yeah, no problem.
Cool.
Yeah, I save everything on an external drive now. Nothing saved on
Yeah,
the computer.
I will do so, that's for sure. But Rudy Giuliani is so crazy, man, just saying that we were able to move 120 dump trucks throughout the night, and more will be removed throughout the day. So that's September 12. So I'm just looking for that video on my list before I'm going here. It's very strange that we don't see that video.
You should share
Maybe they have removed it.
you should share your videos with architects and engineers for 9/11 Truth, because
Yeah,
they've got that archive project going on.
okay. Then I will do so. Contact them and share videos there.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's very strange that we can't even find my own videos. I'm going into videos, and then I'm just, it's the Rudy video is just not here anymore when I need it. So let's jump over to Jeff Rossen for a second.
I mean, you can tell in the distance that there were times when I couldn't see a block ahead of us. This is Dwayne, that's Reed right over there. I couldn't even see beyond Reed at some points tonight, but now we can. The smoke certainly going down, because all day long we were watching World Trade number 7 burn, and obviously that collapsed, and police and fire officials say they have that now under control. So the smoke has dwindled a bit, but it's still not gone, and that dust keeps on getting kicked up with the wind.
And again, just to clarify, you are saying that the fires are out.
That's what the firefighters are telling us, that they have those fires under control. Now it's a matter of going through that rubble.
They were going through that rubble, so he were wrong, and it's very crazy that they don't know how dangerous it is, because people were seeing they were saying it, molten metal. So for them to pour water in the pile, that's very, very dangerous. It seems like I don't find the Criminal Rudy video I made, but we can finish this with another video. No one of you either have seen a video where it says Criminal Rudy?
I haven't seen it.
It's very strange.
Morning. I'd like to welcome everyone. Before we get started, I would like to ask everybody to please rise and join me in a salute to the flag. Hand over heart. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States.
They are actually urging for a new investigation for the 3 towers on that collapsed on 9/11. So I think we all should call for a new investigation into these 3 towers there, because their explanation for them is just ridiculous. You see it here on my list here. Here is the comparison with AE. So that is
Magnus,
just, yes.
do you have a video of the coroner and his testimony about the particles that were found? I know that we played it the other day, and I'm not sure if you have it or Gene and Sandra do, but somehow
Corley, Mr. Corley? I think I have him
no,
right here.
coroner. I think,
Oh,
what's his
yeah.
name, Wexler?
Yeah, let me just do that. 2 seconds.
I had no medical difficulties whatsoever. I was tip-top shape. I ran, I swam, and I did the bike. I was very fit.
I was an athlete. I really like a deer. I took great pride in the fact that at 41, I could hit the ball to the
I have to
second
go a
baseman
little
and still hit the
further
ball
because I have to
first.
show you something.
And it really wasn't to help us.
I don't remember anybody eating for a long time, maybe the entire day. But I remember most of us wanting something to drink, clear our throats.
There were millions of microscopic shards of glass. There was asbestos, there was dioxin, there were polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbons. The first couple of days when there was still unburned jet fuel at the site, there were organic solvents, most notably benzene. Concentrations were very high, and the mixture of chemicals is a mix that's never previously been encountered.
I've lost a great deal of my breathing capacity. I suffer from restrictive airway disease. I have problems with my voice box.
Went to a private lung doctor, and he said you have asthma. Asthma? What the hell are you talking
Sorry,
about?
folks, I just have to find Rudy in this video. And here it is.
Center in the only complex that had already been attacked by Islamic fundamentalists and that they vowed to return to.
The command center was built, but it was built in the wrong place, within the World Trade Center complex, the very place that had been attacked in 1993.
Why was he running that day and running around? Because he didn't have a command post, because he put it in the wrong place.
He had, put his bunker right in the most dangerous spot in the city for terrorists.
It was located there solely and completely because of Rudy Giuliani.
You put the Emergency Response Command Center in the World Trade Center in 1997, even though your director of emergency management recommended that you not put it there because it had been a target in 1993. Why'd you do that?
My director of emergency management recommended 7 World Trade Center.
I have no idea what he's talking about. Because we had already had a bombing in Lower Manhattan, and because I felt that Lower Manhattan would remain a target, that the best location would be out in Brooklyn.
I have got a copy right here of Jerry Howard's directed to you, and there were meetings in which Jerry Hauer said that it's a bad idea, and the police chief, Howard Safer, said it was a bad idea.
Jerry Hauer recommended that.
He gets caught by Chris Wallace lying.
Then why do you say the building?
Is this the video, Al?
Sorry, say it again.
Was this the video you were reflecting to?
No. Gene, what's the guy's name? Wexler, the coroner that talked about the what is this?
Cyril Wecht.
Oh, Cyril Wecht. Yeah, we were watching it the other day.
Oh, that's from The Unspeakable.
Oh yeah, I remember it. I have that too, but I don't know where to find it. But yeah, I remember it now. I'll.
Yeah, but that was a good video of Giuliani blatantly lying.
Yeah, the video I'm looking, here it is, Criminal Rudy. We have to watch this before I'm saying thank you for this.
And we will be using them in that area of the east side that needs generator power, because they may need it for quite some time. We were able to move 120 dump trucks out of the city last night, which will give you a sense of the work that was done overnight. So some of the debris has already been removed. More being removed, and it'll be done by barge all throughout the day today. The subway system is operating.
120 dump trucks cart debris away from ground zero.
Now building 7 goes down.
Where's the other one? I didn't know one fell down.
Right, that's what I said. So dark. I don't know what
7 just went down.
There's like ambulances everywhere. Look at this. This is a major thoroughfare where we are.
garbage trucks.
I know. Were they getting bodies out?
This is like soil and green.
It does. And this is a major corner.
See, they roped it off to bring these things.
That's what's going on.
They certainly came at the right time to catch those. Oh, this is gonna be. Yeah, they're probably. This is probably gonna be to get debris out of there. Where do they come?
It's wild out here. They just keep coming. Look. It doesn't stop. There's more. I keep thinking it's at the end, and it's not.
It's being dispatched somewhere, right? Maybe it's being dispatched from down here somewhere.
So there are 120 dump
2
trucks.
million tons to clear.
Bringing out small debris like the size of your fist and big, huge chunks that are 20 feet long, pieces of steel, and it's a slow process. Like, we haven't even made a dent in it, and that's been 2 days we've been in there.
Sometimes it's very helpless in there because it's so overwhelming. You look around, you move one little pile of stuff, and it's taking you almost 4 hours to move a little pile.
With all the steel intertwined, a shovel would just bounce off of one piece. If it hits one piece of steel, it's just going to bounce off. The only way to do it was to force your hands down under there and lift it up and put it in a bucket. That's how most of the buckets were filled. When we made it to the absolute front, there was usually about 4 or 5, maybe even 6 guys. That was a circle of digging. That was a circle of prying, of ripping, of cutting.
They've begun using heavy equipment to haul away the wreckage of building number 7, regardless of the fact that it's still burning. At the canteen, we hear some of the truck drivers complaining that some of these girders are so hot they cause the beds of the dump trucks to crack and split open.
So the beds of the trucks were cracking and split open by this stuff.
Wow.
So that's just incredible that happened when they were removing it. So what I'm going to say to the end is that the building number 7 is the same thing as the Larry's Castle 7 and need a further investigation, because I've heard they had some Arab study that claims there was a defect in the building, and that's I don't like the Arab study by Larry Silverstein's team. It's not included in the NIST report. All right, I think I don't think I have more time, Susan, or what?
Let's take some questions.
Yeah, let's do so. Thank you.
Let's take some questions. Raise your hand if you have a question. Anyone?
How old were you when you got into 9/11, and what woke you up, Magnus?
Oh, I was listening to a very special hip hop artist, which claims suddenly that in his song that there was the American government that slammed their own planes into these buildings, and there was these Illuminati secrets and these hidden groups, and then we found it that it's just not that simple later. So I had to just ask my friend who gave that song to me in 2008. That's when I got this song, and I had to ask him in 2016, what is the point with all this stuff? They don't either want a new investigation, and they don't do anything. They're just making these theories. Let me say it again. They're mixing the song with Bohemian Grove and Illuminati, and the American was behind the 9/11 attacks and slammed their own planes into the buildings, and it's very dark hip hop, I would say. So I was just like, wow, how can people make stuff like this without to call for a further investigation? So I asked my friend about to show me all the videos he had on YouTube, and I was just sitting there for 4 or 5 days and watching 9/11 videos. And then suddenly I think I just collapsed because my brain were overworked and ended up at the hospital and had a break until 2019. I had a break until 2019, and then I had to re-find everything I saw in 2016 and try to contact Richard Gage or everybody and post stuff on the 9/11 Truth pages I found. So I just collapsed in 2016, and we still don't know why. But I suggested that it was the future and that I had to sit on my ass and watch 9/11 videos and find you during COVID.
Right on. Thank you, brother.
Thank you, everybody, for coming today. And I am deeply apologizing for scrolling videos and couldn't find them. And you guys are very amazing.
Well, we're not done yet. Bob has a
question. I understand.
Bob,
yeah, small matter of curiosity here.
Yeah.
Was the artist, one of the artists in this, the videos that you heard, was that Immortal Technique?
Not Immortal Technique. What? Say it again.
Immortal Technique. It's one of the sort of radical artists, but it's a little different animal. Just thought I would be curious and drop that in there, but it's not critical to the whole business about the seven falling down and all.
Yeah, no, it's all real. Yeah, it's all. But the video I found was actually put together, and they had to say 10:24, and I had to just film that part and just slam it on YouTube and just find Aaron Brown's video where he says that we had another collapse following the 10:30 collapse. So I have a lot of foreknowledge about that building must go down.
Mm-hmm.
So that's not just artists. Peter Jennings actually says in a video that the place looks a little graphic artists there. So that made a lot of no-planers. But I'm not a no-planer. But I know that the heat from these planes and the foreknowledge here should be investigated further.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay.
Thank you.
Somebody
You are
else?
amazing,
Bob. And Bob was asking you about the artist of that rap song. He thought it was Immortal Technique, but do you know who the artist was?
Oh yeah, his name you can search for Bad Spit. Ole Martin is a Norwegian guy actually who makes stuff about what he have. I decoded it because Aaron Russo were interviewed by Alex Jones and saying that Nick Rockefeller in China told me 9 months before 9/11 that there was going to be this false flag operations and invasion of Iraq and Afghanistan and this endless war on terror. So this artist used some of these things from these interviews and put it in their songs. So they were.
Are we talking about Danish rap?
We are talking about English and Norwegian rap.
Oh, Norwegian. Okay. What did I say?
Norwegian and English.
In Norwegian,
is
yes.
using both.
Okay.
Yeah, they are wannabes American style, so they are mixing Norwegian and American
Gotcha.
style.
Yeah, just
But
curious.
that's the problem. They are mixing conspiracies like Aaron Russo, and there is no end into it. It's just caves and more stuff. So I dropped out from these caves and just said we need to contact people and show them videos and look at them and see what we can do. Because it's impossible for me to just sit home here and say that there are hidden groups controlling us and we can't do anything about it.
Yeah. I'm just curious because you do have an ability to dig up videos that
Yeah.
even Gene hasn't seen. And
Wow, I sent you a video, Gene. Did you see it? The tower breaking up, the video Richard Gage used when he were explaining how the top were ripping apart. So did you stop the video and say, oh, that's part I were looking for? It's
I
a
missed
video.
that.
Okay, I have sent you a video in the box.
Sounds good.
no, but my question is
Yeah.
how do you find these videos? Do you just look for any 9/11 videos that have like 12 views and you figure, well, probably nobody saw this one? Like, how do you
Yeah.
find the obscure videos that we don't see like 20 times a day?
Yeah, I'm just using the same filters that you are using, but as I said earlier, I'm finding more videos when I'm not using my YouTube channel and just using the same filters, but it's a new world of videos. So I'm searching 9/11 playlist, YouTube videos, conspiracy, it's a lot of research I'm doing every day.
Yeah, so you
Because
must look at a lot of videos before you find one where you go, oh yeah, this one's worth keeping, right?
Yeah, I'm looking at thousands of videos every day, yeah. So that's incredible. So I'm looking very hard to find videos for you every day to every Sunday and have a great event with these videos.
There has got to be an easier way to do that. Maybe
I,
AI can help you or something, I don't know.
Yeah, maybe, but my friend also offered to help me, and then suddenly the YouTube channel were deleted and claims that he can't find anything, and he won't listen to me when I'm explaining these filters, and he's just throwing it away. So I am working alone here. But yeah, I'm watching videos and finding them and sending them over to you.
Nice.
Yeah. Thank you for asking.
Do you find support in your community for
5 firefighters?
what?
5 firefighters were able to provide me some money so were able to co-produce 9/11 crimes in the courtroom, but they haven't been able to travel and wake up more people. But I just collected 4 firefighters
sorry.
and they gave me some money to make that film.
Well,
So it's not much support, but I have firefighters.
I kind of meant, what's the feeling of your friends and your neighbors and your community about 9/11?
Or even your family.
Yeah.
Yeah, my family actually are very proud of this thing because they didn't know about the third tower and I was showing them so much videos and Larry pull it. We were debating whether he said pull it or pull out. So we spent 4 months talking about Larry here and then they were saying that yeah, it's actually pull it. So we wanted a further investigation into these three towers, and it's just ridiculous that you have Larry's Castle 7 and Larry's World Trade Center 7 identical buildings at the same location going down like that. So I don't like the explanation from NIST or anyone that have investigated these towers. We need a new investigation.
Yeah. So where does Norway stand in the war on terror? Did Norway get dragged into it?
Yeah, we were 90 countries that provided the support for 9/11, and we went to Iraq and Afghanistan, and my friend actually were blown up in Afghanistan with damages in his body and everything, and PTSD, and smoking cannabis from his doctor every day because he can't think clearly, and getting paranoid from nowhere, and can't even play video games with shooting anymore. So I told him with an accident when we were walking in a park that, did you know about Building 7 and this Super Mario game? And he just, no way. And he said, I went into these wars and supported and did everything, and it just, wow, it looks more like a controlled demolition. So I know that our country went to war, and we don't like it. It's very terrible.
Motivation for you and your compatriots, right? Because it was all based on a lie.
Yeah, and my neighbor actually came from Vietnam, and he went from the war in Vietnam and lived here and got a son and a daughter, and we witnessed these towers together crashing on TV, and they have a family in New York actually too, because the family wasn't allowed to live in Norway when they were escaping from the war. So one guy was allowed to live in Norway of 15 others. So they had a very bad time during 9/11 and cared very much about them, but still they don't know Building 7.
Right.
I'm sharing and showing, so I'm getting more and more support, and I'm very deeply sorry for all this Dino Hatton and Super Mario stuff, sir, ma'am, but the problem is that I'm actually getting support when I'm setting them side by side. 9/11 and the tree destruction there. So that's helping a little bit, but it's not my favorite because I'm thinking about the families and all the stuff they went through. So it's a little crazy, but I'm doing it, and yeah, it's not a problem.
And on that same question, is there anybody, sorry, Jack, I saw you raised your hand, but it's just kind of like a continuation of this one. Is there anybody who gives you a hard time? Do you have people who, I don't know, call you conspiracy theorists, make fun of you, tell you that it's all bullshit, or?
Oh yeah, I have a few of them. My brother, for example, and these guys were just saying, "Oh my God, are you looking into that stuff 25 years ago?" And I'm saying, "Yeah, did you know about building number 7?" No, they don't know. So I'm showing them stuff, and they don't like it, but they're supporting more and more. I had really problems in 2019, yeah, but in the last 5-6 years, it's okay.
All right. Nice.
Even my mom
Thank you.
gave $100 for 9/11 crimes in the courtroom, so we reached 550 or something like that, plus a couple of firefighters. So we were making something out of it here in Norway. I wish I could come over to your country and work, or USA. Canada or USA would have been amazing.
Oh, yeah. All right, Jack, go ahead.
Jack, yeah.
Okay, these are great videos, Magnus. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And I think videos are the answer. That's the only way to convince people, because you can write everything down, and people will not, it won't impact them. They won't believe it as much as good videos. So as far as organizing the videos, I've been thinking about this for quite a while. There's a new thing being advertised. I think it's called Noriko. Please, somebody correct me. It's a box. It's a storage box with 20 terabytes of hard drives, and it allows you to catalog everything in it any way you want. So if you wanted to make this presentation this box would allow you to, categorize each video one after the other, and then it would play them perfectly. So that's only like $399, but there must be a cheaper way of doing it than that. But it's a topic that we all need to figure out.
Yeah, I can also maybe merge them next time if I do have a problem.
Very good.
And send a long video of them. I will look into it. Thank you so much for saying that.
Well, we all should look into it. It's a difficult problem.
Yeah, maybe I can come on later again, Susan, next year or something.
Sounds like a software problem.
I have more videos for us. It's amazing.
Yeah, I have more videos for you, so if you have time next year or something, I can come on early next year.
Great.
I'm writing to you.
Are there any more questions? I think we've reached the end of this portion.
Just one last quick, easy question.
All right.
Magnus, in Norwegian, how do you say 9/11 was an inside job?
9/11 var en inside job. Inside job.
Well, that really isn't much different.
Så, ja, 9/11 var en insiderjobb.
What
Yeah.
the inside?
Well, you're just pronouncing inside job in Norwegian, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's because inside job, I mean, that's an expression that doesn't necessarily have a translation in other languages.
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
You would have to do it like word by word, or maybe there's like an equivalent that's kind of like maybe false flag. Like you probably have false flag in Norwegian, right?
Yeah, we have a few false flags here. And
No, but I'm saying
about
the expression of false flag. Can you translate that into Norwegian?
falsk flagg.
Okay, so yeah, same thing.
But
Nice.
one thing I have to say, can you see my screen?
Yeah.
Yep.
Richard Gage 911 and 911 C2C, because I have been building towers here on my table last 5 years.
Oh, wow.
What are they made of?
Oh, Legos, actually, because Richard Gage have a live video where he says they don't just fall apart like a set of Legos that you kick over, and I were building them at the same time and just made a video. So that's actually funny. So I have these towers here and inviting people to see them and watch videos along with me. So I'm standing on my kitchen here and building. So
Wow.
thank
Nice job,
you for
Magnus.
that.
You're just a big kid, aren't you?
Yeah, 32.
Thank
Thank you.
That's okay. We're not grown up yet either.
Well, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure, and you're welcome back anytime. And
Thank you.
we really appreciate everything you're doing.
Oh, thank you. I will keep up. I will keep doing what I'm doing and trying to find more firefighters and show videos to the people I can and try to get them in.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
We're going to go on to the next portion of our